Hello, and thank you so much for allowing me to join you today to do a very basic overview of registered apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship. Concentrating today a little bit more on the pre-apprenticeship side, especially as we believe it should be looked at as one of the premier structures for work-based learning and a school-to-work pipeline. With the limited time we have today, we really will only be able to scratch the surface. So I am more than happy to meet and provide farther resources. Please do not hesitate to reach out for support. My name is Tara Lowe, and I'm the Director of the Apprenticeship and Training Office at the Pennsylvania Department of Labor and Industry. The Apprenticeship and Training Office is charged with overseeing all of the policy and program development for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania related to registered apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship. It's important to note that Pennsylvania is a state apprenticeship agency. What that means is that our office, the Office of Apprenticeship and Training, acts as an arm of the Federal Office of Apprenticeship. And we oversee the registration process and the apprenticeship standards specific to Pennsylvania, as we have our own set of apprenticeship standards and a registration process specific to our great state. Because the ATO is charged with overseeing our specific registration process and all related documents, we must and do ensure that local areas have the support and resources that they need to align with those Pennsylvania specific standards, practices, and the ability to successfully register your program. The apprenticeship and training representatives, our staff, our team, remain the main providers of technical assistance across the state and will most likely be a support system to many of you if you choose to pursue the registered apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship pathway. Apprenticeship and training reps service areas that are broken down by the western part of the state, the central part of the state, and the southeast part of the state. And I am excited to say that we also will be adding a northern region to our apprenticeship and training representative team. And also we'll be adding multiple statewide apprenticeship and training reps, concentrating on building programs and maintaining programs for non-traditional occupations and some of our special projects and statewide projects. And again, we're going to really do a very brief overview today, but before we get started, let's play a little game, or I like to say, test a theory. If you don't mind, take out a sticky note or a piece of scrap paper. If you don't have anything in front of you, just note it in your head. I'm going to ask you two quick questions. Please write down the first one or two answers that come to your mind. Don't overcomplicate it, just write down the first one or two things that come up. And I'm going to ask you to actually revisit what you've written down in the end. So please keep your sticky notes and notes close. So first question, what would employers that you are working with say is one of the biggest barriers to workforce development for their organization or industry? So what would employers say is one of the biggest barriers for workforce development for their organization or industry? And that's not necessarily what you think, it's what would the employers you're working with say. So just take a second, write down the first thing that comes to mind. The second question is, what would you say is one of the biggest barriers to career development or access to training for some of the students that you are working with? So what's one of the biggest barriers to career development and or access to training for some of the students that you are working with? So please take a second, write down your answers to that question. Okay, and again, keep that close. We will revisit it later in the presentation. So I want to just take a second to really basically define what registered apprenticeship is. It's a bit of a buzzword lately, and you hear the term used quite a lot. But frankly, what I've found is that very few can actually define what a registered apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship is. So at the core of it, registered apprenticeship is a way for employers to invest in their workforce and close that skills gap that you hear about so often. Registered apprenticeship is an employer-driven, learn while you earn, that phrase is key, structured training model specific to an occupation, an industry, and the actual job site and employer that's building the program. Registered apprenticeship programs can really be anywhere from 1 to 6 years, and they combine on-the-job training with classroom learning, otherwise known as job-related technical instruction. Registered apprenticeships must include at least 2,000 hours of on-the-job training annually and at least 144 hours of that job-related technical instruction annually. An apprentice is a full-time paid employee from the start of the program. That's that earn as you learn piece. In addition, registered apprenticeship requires and involves progressive increases in an apprentice's wages while they earn new skills, while they meet certain competencies outlined, or put in a certain number of program hours. So essentially, an apprentice is paid from the beginning, but then awarded as they gain new skills and put time in. And finally, apprenticeship in itself results in a nationally recognized credential. You often hear this referred to as the Journey Worker Certificate or the Pennsylvania Certificate of Completion. And we know that some of the best registered apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship programs actually have additional industry recognized credentials that can be earned along the course of the program. There are 5 key components to registered apprenticeship. And really, it's important to remember that apprenticeship should be customized to the industry, occupation, and the employer's needs where able. But these are those 5 key components that you're absolutely going to see in every registered apprenticeship. So number 1 is that paid job piece, that earn as you learn piece. Again, apprentices are paid employees from the start of the program, and they are rewarded for learning new skills as they achieve progressive increases along the way. Number 2 key component is that on-the-job learning piece, and that's essentially hands-on structured training on the actual job site from a mentor that's been at that job site and been at that employer, and oftentimes multiple mentors. Number 3 key component is that classroom learning piece. That's essentially education in a classroom setting. It could be virtual, it could be in person. There's different ways to provide that. And it's really designed to improve job-related skills. So this is essentially the theory being studied behind the practical application of the work being done on the job. 4th key component is mentorship. And we know mentorship is key to any workforce development program, but with apprenticeship, this is certainly a requirement. So mentors and mentorship provides apprentices with the support of one and most likely multiple skilled seasoned workers to assist and enhance that critical hands-on learning. And the 5th component is that credential piece. So apprenticeship in itself results in a nationally recognized credential, and hopefully most apprenticeship programs are going to incorporate other nationally recognized credentials and industry recognized credentials across along the way. So it's important to note why is registered apprenticeship a viable option for job seekers? Hopefully you've already started putting that together just by defining registered apprenticeship. But I just want to highlight a few pieces for you. So again, apprentices are earning an income while they're learning. They are employed by the employer that they're hopefully going to be employed at long term. And we're not going to get in today the benefits for employers, but retention rates are key for registered apprenticeship. And when I have an employer asking me, hey, why should I be involved in registered apprenticeship? One of the key statistics I share is that at the completion of an apprenticeship program, 91% of all apprenticeship completers stay at the employer that trained them. And that retention rate only drops to 90% 3 years after completion of the program. And that's pretty darn good, considering I think the 3-year retention rate for college graduates is just around 70%. So again, registered apprenticeship is education along with the practical application of it. That's that related technical instruction, the theory of the work being done, and then you're able to actually go to the job site that you're going to be working at and apply that theory and apply what you've learned. That mentorship piece is so key. This allows the knowledge from seasoned and skilled workers to be passed down to the new workforce. Another number that I often share is that the manufacturing industry in 2019, I believe they stated that the average age of their worker was 55. So in this case, registered apprenticeship is a great way to have that knowledge from that workforce that will be retiring in the next couple of years to be passed down to the new seasoned workers. We don't want that knowledge and that expertise to go out the door, right? So this is a great model and way to pass that down to the new workforce and new set of workers. Registered apprenticeship in itself results in a nationally recognized credential. Registered apprenticeship is a career versus a job. So most and many registered apprenticeships are in high priority occupations with competitive salaries. The average wage for apprenticeship completers is $60,000 annually. And on average, apprenticeship graduates earn $300,000 more during their career. And finally, remember, a registered apprenticeship is an investment in the employer, by the employer in their workforce. So registered apprenticeship results in no debt for the job seeker, for the worker. So essentially, you get all of these other benefits and you really don't need to pay for it. So the Apprenticeship and Training Office is also working to grow pre-apprenticeship, and we truly hope that it could be looked at as the premier structure for work-based learning pathways and a school-to-work pipeline. In fact, we really believe that the secondary education system and career and technology education programs are particularly well positioned to register already existing programs as pre-apprenticeships or to create new opportunities for your learners by building pre-apprenticeship programs within your schools. So registered pre-apprenticeship programs are essentially workforce development programs that assist individuals in obtaining the fundamental skills needed to enter an apprenticeship and be successful in an apprenticeship. There are 5 elements required to ensure quality pre-apprenticeship programming. That first element, and arguably one of the most important, is connection to an existing registered apprenticeship program. This is key. If anyone reaches out to us and they say, we do want to develop a pre-apprenticeship program, one of the things we're going to initially do is assess the occupation and the need that they're looking to fill, and then right away connect them to existing registered apprenticeship programs in their area and that meet that need that they're looking to fill. We want that pre-apprenticeship program and curriculum developed with the registered apprenticeship program and curriculum in mind, because best case scenario, a pre-apprenticeship graduate, because of everything they learned and that they've engaged in, are able to fast track through a registered apprenticeship program. So they may be able to gain advanced standing once entered in a registered apprenticeship program, perhaps fast track through the first 1 or 2 years. At the very least, they should be able to gain guaranteed interviews and other benefits. The second element is approved training and curriculum. The third element is hands-on learning with a career focus. The fourth element is an opportunity to earn an industry-recognized credential if at all all possible. And the fifth element is access to support services and career counseling. I'm sure this group knows how important support services and additional career counseling are to ensure the success of a program participant and the ability to be able to retain employment after completing that program. So pre-apprenticeship is a way to ensure a job seeker is ready for apprenticeship. It can expose individuals to the industry before a full commitment is made, and they could even have that direct path to the apprenticeship opportunity, resulting in previous credit awarded, guaranteed interviews, et cetera, et cetera. Pre-apprenticeships can be for anyone, but are often targeted towards groups that may benefit from additional strategic support. So who can become pre-apprentices? What we often see is pre-apprenticeships are targeting groups like youth, returning citizens, English language learners, again, to give help and support to address any gaps that there may be, provide that strategic support, and then provide certain populations and groups a direct pathway to this employment model, and ultimately set them up for success in it long term. Who is eligible to become a registered pre-apprenticeship sponsor? Well, there's a lot of flexibility in pre-apprenticeship. And it really could be any group that's committed to the process and the framework. So school districts, career and tech centers are particularly well aligned. Post-secondary institutions, community-based organizations, workforce development boards, the traditional employers and associations. And again, our staff really helps those groups build these programs and form collaboratives as needed. What are the hour requirements of OJT and related technical instruction for registered apprenticeships? So again, there's a lot of flexibility with pre-apprenticeship. So there really is no minimum or maximum. We just ask that you do incorporate some of those key elements. And who approves registered pre-apprenticeships? Well, that's actually myself. You don't need to go in front of the Pennsylvania Apprenticeship and Training Council. There is a process to work with your apprenticeship and training rep, and then it essentially gets sent to me for a 30-day review period. Once your apprenticeship and training rep lets you know it is good to go. So we've made a number of exciting enhancements over the past few months and have set some very important goals throughout this year and next. So I just wanted to share some of that for this group. These exciting enhancements and goals include updating our standards acceptance and registration process and developing all new registration paperwork. If you've seen the registration paperwork before, I'm sure you're breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief. We've tried to make that paperwork inclusive of all program types, and we've made it much more user-friendly by using things like fillable forms. Imagine that. We also, and I'm so excited about this, have enhanced our digital footprint by totally redoing our labor and industry and Pennsylvania CareerLink web pages. A lot of time and energy went into this, and these web pages are true landing pages for all things apprenticeship. They house all of our newly created resources that I'll mention in a second and highlight best practices and success stories across the state. I'll share the Pennsylvania CareerLink Apprenticeship website address in a second, but you can actually easily find it by just Googling PA CareerLink Apprenticeship, and it should be the first thing that comes up. We've developed a number of Pennsylvania-specific knowledge products. So again, there's a lot of good federal resources out there, but it doesn't speak to the Pennsylvania-specific process, which can be a little confusing. So we've created things like one-pagers targeting job seekers, employers, a funding guide on what's available to registered programs. And perhaps the piece that I'm most proud of is a comprehensive registering a program in Pennsylvania guide for sponsors and employers. We've created separate versions for registered apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship. This goes over the basics of registered apprenticeship and how to build, launch, and maintain a program, along with details on filling out the paperwork. We will be offering workshops and training for workforce development staff and other community-based organizations. We really want these individuals to know who, what, when, where, why, to connect their job seekers or students or employer clients to apprenticeship. And along with that, we're working on various desk guides and other tools to assist in this process. And we continue to support the Registered Apprenticeship Navigator program. This program trains navigator apprentices to essentially develop and register apprenticeship programs, provide technical assistance to employers, leverage funds, and expand apprenticeship opportunities in their immediate communities, maximizing the reach of our team. So I'm a story person, but I also want to just end with a few numbers. I do think it's important to share some statistics. So currently in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, we have 877 unduplicated program sponsors. Additionally, we have 1,589 registered apprenticeship programs. Currently, there are over 17,000 active apprentices across the Commonwealth, and we have 77 registered pre-apprenticeship programs. So normally when I'm live, I love to discuss the answers to this question and what you wrote down together, but I'm actually going to ask you to ponder this on your own since I'm not there with you today. So now take a look at your note from the beginning or kind of dial back to that in your head. Look at what you wrote down. Look at that barrier. Do you think, based on what you've just learned today, apprenticeship could be a potential solution to those barriers that you noted? I'd love to hear about the connections. Again, I'm sorry I'm not there, but maybe even talk about the connections amongst yourselves. If you're stumped, we can make the connection together. Feel free to reach out to me. My theory is basically that registered apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship could potentially address many of those barriers that you've noted. Also you may really be asking yourself, okay, I understand that registered apprenticeship can address those barriers, but is apprenticeship right for my school or district? So I just wrote down a few questions that you may want to think about. So do you have programs already focused on a particular industry or occupation that you could very easily align registered apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship with? Do you want to align more closely with industry and employers in your area? And I will say employers that we know are invested in workforce development and committed to it. Do you want to increase graduation rates? Do you want to offer students a results-proven work-based learning pathway? If you answered yes to any of those questions, I would seriously consider registered apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship. And finally, I did include a YouTube link here. This is actually this video highlights a program from a school district in Colorado on how they utilize registered apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship. They're going to include a lot of success stories here. They really have done this process right, and you are going to hear to them refer to what they're doing as youth apprenticeship in relation to the Pennsylvania models. When they're speaking to their youth apprenticeships, it would probably be the equivalent to our Pennsylvania pre-apprenticeships. And again, they've really done such a great job and have had great success. So I like to feature the work that was done in relation to youth apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship in a particular school district. So I've included some other really useful videos for you here. And I also have our contact information here. So thank you again for the work that you're doing, for supporting your learners, for supporting your job seekers, and joining me today. Please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or my team with questions. So thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day.